Headlines underway. Great to be with you. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. The boys are here. Well, Corey's here, but he's in Atlanta. So you'll hear hopefully a better sounding mic.
How do I sound? Do I sound better?
I'm seeing evidence that the mic has improved.
Got it. The mic is here. I got the mic with me this time.
And Ira is here. Of course he is. I knew I could count on you to be here.
Steady Eddie over here.
Yeah. Yay, sausage. I just came out the box with it. Register sausage, of course. The only kind of sausage worth no, I bought some 2 days ago, and it occurred to me after I bought it that I should have just swung past the Chaffel household and knocked on the door and be like, hey, can you grab me some of that extra register sausage you've got sitting there in the freezer?
From the supply?
Yeah.
The supply's dwindled a little bit, man. We might need to re-up.
Well, there's a lot of re-upping for all. I mean, the successes we've provided, Register Sausage, Virtual Orthodontics, Horizons, I mean, we should really be swimming in money.
Good stuff for sure. Register Sausage is the best sausage. What do we say? What's the new slogan? The best sausage you'll ever have, I think is what we came up with. And I'm standing by that, Corey.
Okay. It's the best sausage you'll ever taste.
Yeah, I think that's what we want.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We're going to get more risque every week.
Registermeats.com is the website, and you can order it if you don't live in the area. But if you do live in Florida, Georgia, it's expanding to Carolinas, Alabama. You can go to your local grocery store. If they don't have it, like I said, I ran into a couple people who said that their Tallahassee Publix didn't have it.
That's unheard of.
It's hard to believe.
See it. I don't think they're looking.
But if you just ask for it, that helps, because the more people that ask for it, then they know there's a demand for it, and they'll start carrying it and carrying more supplies of it. So registermeats.com is the website if you want to have it delivered. But start your new year with some tasty Register sausage.
So since we last talked, a lot has happened. Obviously, Jared Verse came back. We hadn't talked about that last week. Georgia won back-to-back national titles, and we know that's so. If that's what you're aspiring to at Florida State to get to that level, there's work to do, man. There's work to do. That's what I've been saying from player for player. There's work to do. Although I do think Florida State would have beat TCU by 21.
Yeah, I thought TCU was terrible. Like, I know Georgia was a better team. That's why they were favored by 2 touchdowns. TCU was horrible in that game. They played terribly. They completely melted down. The quarterback was awful.
Yeah.
Everything about the way they played was awful. That was not the TCU that played for most of the year.
I will say this. I do think, though, and they admitted it, TCU did after the game. Their coach did, as well as some of the players. There's just a different level of player at Georgia than at TCU, and that's bore out over the last several years in recruiting. You can see the evidence of that. Obviously, not just the evidence of a overwhelming defeat on the field, but just looking over the stockpiling of athletes over the last number of years. It was a miracle season for TCU, and you give them all the credit in the world for putting themselves in a position to play for a national championship a year after having a losing record. But when you're watching that play out, you're like, these two teams don't belong in the same field.
Yeah, and even after the game, though, Sonny Dykes admitted, I think right on the field, he said, we're outside the locker room, he said, we won some games this year we probably shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hell of a statement for a team that's in the national championship game, and that gives you an idea of who they were. Now, this wasn't a shock. Last weekend, Keith Cottrell texted me before the semifinal games, and he's like, this kind of stinks, especially, once TCU won. It's like, well,
we know the winner of the Georgia-Ohio State game is going to win the national championship.
And so, that kind of stinks. But at the same time, the right team won the national title. I don't know if anybody could have beaten them if they're motivated. That's the thing. Over the course of a season, I think Kirby, we all kind of made fun of Kirby last night with everybody doubted us and nobody respected us and all. You were number one in the country for all but 3 weeks during the season. But the reason he latched onto that is because it is hard to repeat. Because we saw it in 2014. We've seen it with many other teams as well. It's hard to do what Alabama did 10 years ago. And they did it partly because they're talented enough to get through the games when they weren't focused. But when they were focused, man, you're not going to beat that team.
It's interesting. I don't know how that worked. The ploy, whatever, obviously that was the central message, right? He over and over and over again, he told his team that they were disrespected when there was zero disrespect from anybody anywhere in the world.
There was the audacity to make Alabama number one in the preseason. And then there was 1 week during the season when Georgia wasn't looking great and Alabama went up to number one again.
You mean when Georgia almost lost to Missouri?
Right.
Yeah, but man, Nolan Smith said after the game, people were saying we were going to go 7-5. Another Georgia player said the same thing. And I'm convinced when Elon Musk allowed you to buy blue check marks for $8, Kirby had all of his wave of GAs go buy these blue check marks and say they worked for whoever, SI, the Athens Banner Herald's like, I don't think Georgia can win another game, and just would show it to his players because they don't know. I mean, who could explain them having such a big chip on their shoulder?
Look, he didn't invent this. I mean, I remember back in the day, players here at Florida State saying, yeah, Odell told us that they told us we had no, like they beat I don't know, NC State or North Carolina or whatever. And he'd be like, yeah, Coach Odell told us that they said we had no chance against them. It's like, man, they never said that.
Nobody said that.
but back then they didn't have Google.
Yeah. No, it is hard to imagine that anybody on Georgia's team would have thought that somebody seriously said that they would go 7-5. No, nobody did that. Nobody did that anyway.
I had a hard time finding 7 wins on that schedule. When I looked in August, I'm like, how are they going to get to 7?
Also, if it were that easy, like that's the thing. Like, how many coaches were watching that going, damn it, I tried the same thing. They just didn't buy it because it's nonsense.
And that's the bottom line is people will talk, and Kirby talked about the mindset and the hunted and all these things are like, they're relevant to a degree, but the biggest factor in all of this is talent. And
they're more talented than everybody else.
Kirby has accumulated talent, and his staff and their supporters have accumulated talent to a level that we would see with
commensurate to Alabama.
Yeah, Duke basketball or some of the teams that look, man. Part of what makes a great coach in a program is accumulating talent, and they've done it in an incredible level.
And what worked, it can kind of be compared to what we're about to see with Florida State to a lesser extent, but. It was cool that they won a national championship. They had a lot of talent coming back on that team, but not a lot of proven talent. When you lose 15 dudes to the NFL and you lose a whole basically starting NFL defense, including 5 first-round picks off your defense, well, there's a lot of guys that started for Georgia this year that hadn't proven squat.
Well, how often did that happen in the 90s for Florida State? Like, how often was that happening?
Yeah, I mean, not to that level where they would lose that kind of talent off one team, but also those teams came back and were typically motivated because they hadn't proven it. I don't remember a lot of Florida State teams that just kind of went through the motions in the 90s. Right. They always played really hard, and that's what Kirby's done there. That's what Saban typically does at Alabama. That's what Jimbo couldn't do here, is you keep that motivation there. And also the offensive guys heard all offseason and the whole 2021 season, the reason you won is because of your defense. So they had a lot to prove. So it really was kind of a magical formula to get a repeat. Let's see what they do this year with breaking in a new quarterback, which the one thing that Florida State has, and we've all seen these way too early top 25s. Florida State's anywhere from 4 to 6 on all these. And other than Michigan, everybody else around them is breaking in a quarterback. That's a big deal when you're looking towards what next year could be.
I want to go back to we'll bring it back home for a second and try to do some comparisons because we all attended the press conference before the 2014 season for Florida State. And Jimbo Fisher openly discussed reading several books and looking for ways to properly motivate his 2014 team, knowing they came off that national championship. They had climbed the mountain. And a lot of guys were NFL prospects. A lot of guys, there was the fear. You could tell there was a fear that a lot of guys wouldn't play as hard every week because they had their NFL futures in mind, but you can't blame a kid, especially if he projects to go very, very high. And he talked about reading, I remember Phil Jackson's book and how they won so many championships and how do you go about trying to win back-to-back. And he referenced a lot of things that day. Ultimately, he never was able to push the right buttons. They did go undefeated in the regular season, and then it was a turnover festival against Oregon. I still think they would have won if Dalvin doesn't fumble, but what the hell? It doesn't matter. We're not going to relive that. The point is that he couldn't press the right button. So whatever Kirby did, it made up motivation. He convinced them it was real. Jimbo could not convince anybody of whatever it was he was selling in 2014. Florida State coming into this year is a very different deal. They didn't even win the ACC. This will be a starving team. They haven't won anything yet.
You hope.
Oh, I don't know how they couldn't be, right? I mean, what did you win? Nothing. You didn't win your division. You didn't play in the conference championship. You didn't finish. I mean, what? What did you win? You won basically over the hearts and minds of the fans that were in doubt that this staff could get this team to 10 wins. That's what you did. That's all you did.
I agree, but we live in a time where players are told from the time they're 12 years old, maybe earlier, that they're something. They're special. They're super duper stars.
Yeah.
And so when they start having success, they've had it at the high school level. They were highly recruited. They've had it now at the college level. That's going to be a work in progress. Like Mike Norvell is going to have a more challenging situation in that area in 2023 than he did in 2022. He didn't really even have to deal with that in 2022 until they went 4-0 and then stunk for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't play well. I thought they kind of got full of themselves a little bit. Now you could say, how could you be that way? You'd only won 4 games. Well, I think it was a factor. And I think if this coaching staff doesn't do a good job with it, it could become a problem. They're going to have 7 months of people telling them they're a top 5 team in the country. Well, guess what? If you did just what you did last year, you're not going to be a top 5 team. You've got to work harder. You've got to be more focused. You've got to get better in so many ways to live up to that. But sometimes people just believe the hype and, hey, if we show up, we're going to be top 5. Well, that's not going to be the case.
Well, the good news, they have ample evidence of what it means to become complacent. The 3-game losing streak in last year's season, for all the successes, that happened. And the games against good teams that you needed to beat, you lost to. That is
going to have to be.
I would talk about it hourly.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that this is going to be a talking point. Like, hey, wait a minute, guys, you did end up beating the vast majority of the teams that you should beat. You did. But you also lost to almost all the good teams you played. Come on, man. I mean, that's you've got
and
more to prove here.
You didn't run roughshod over the last 2 teams that were barely bowl teams. So there should be some hunger there. I think Ira's right that, it's different when you're becoming something in the middle of a season, a top 10, top 15 caliber team out of nowhere kind of, and then getting 8 months to hear about, you're a novel pick for the national to get in the playoff. There are people that are picking Jordan to win the Heisman. Heck, he's got a website now. So it is going to be a different chemistry to this team. But man, it's a talented team. And it is a team that on paper right now, as we talk on January 10th, should be the favorite to win the ACC. I think it shouldn't shy away from it. I think it should embrace it. I think Florida State fans should embrace this team. You have what I think is the most talented team, most experienced team, starting 22 in the ACC. And man, you look around the country and all those big boys all have to break in quarterbacks. Now, whoever's the Ohio State quarterback is probably going to be pretty good, and he has Marvin Harrison's kid to throw to.
Yeah, he's already a Heisman. He's one of the top 4 or 5 Heisman favorites.
And Georgia's got a guy. They all got guys, but it's one. I mean, nothing's proven yet. Who's Alabama's quarterback? I guess Beck will be at Georgia, but when you have a top 5 team, a top 5 or 10 offense, and a great quarterback, you got a chance. You got a chance. And I think Florida State has a chance, but like Ira's point, all that other stuff matters too, right? It does matter what the mindset is of this team. I think it'll be good because I believe in the coaching staff. But you don't know until you know.
No, I think they'll do a good job with it. And I think there's some leaders on this team. And look, they definitely should be hungry. I agree with you. I just don't think it's something that's just going to happen organically. I think they're going to have to work at it. They're going to have to keep reminding themselves. Because again, not only do you have guys that have had some success last year, but they've all gotten NIL deals. They're all getting paid now. It's a different, and we've seen teams that handle that well. Georgia, we've seen teams that did not handle that well. Alabama, Texas A&M, Miami. There's others, and so that's again just things different. This is a different equation now going forward. But you love to have. I mean, you want to go into that situation with the talent you have and the experience you have. To Corey's point, this team shouldn't run away from expectations. And I'm cool with the website, the Jordan Travis for Heisman website. We could talk about that. I know Corey, I don't think is going to be a big fan. I know a lot of fans won't be, but I think, man, Florida State, this is your chance. This is your window. I think you come and say, hey, we're here for it. I don't think you hide away from that.
Shouldn't be afraid of success, and you shouldn't certainly be scared of the success you've had this past season and what the expectations will be this next year. I think this all gets back to, and one of the reasons I feel comfortable that they will be properly motivated, they have ample evidence that they need to be. But the other part of this is that one of the reasons everybody bought into the team is because the culture is so good. I mean, the players bought in because the culture is good. They passed it on to each other. They took ownership of it. They believe in Mike and his staff. The fans believe in this group because they've seen the evidence now. The culture in that locker room is really good, in which people hold each other accountable at practice, and they show up for one another. And so I think that if you're going to have a situation where all of these other elements are now in play, as you're alluding to, at least you have it's rooted in what we think is a really healthy culture.
I agree 100%. 100%. Not only
Amen.
because you have the leadership you have, but because of the guys that you've brought into the program over these last few years. I mean, they don't have a lot of kids in that team that I think you have to worry about. You know, we haven't met a lot of these new transfers that are arriving, and so we'll have to see about some of them. But for the most part, they've done a great job of getting guys who come in believing in the culture really from the moment they get here.
Yeah, they've assessed well, really well.
And I think, man, when you look at Jared Verse coming back is such an enormous deal. That you were talking, we didn't even get the full Jared Verse experience this year. Like, there were moments where he flashed like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, especially in August, right? Ira, when we'd watch him in practice, just the athleticism. And then halfway through the third game of the season, he hurt his knee. It was never quite what 100%, I don't think, after that. He was always a little bit banged up for most of the year, and he still was the most productive guy they had. It's still a potential first-round pick, I guess a top 15 pick. Now we get him, hopefully you get him for a full healthy season. You might have the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. You probably do in the preseason anyway. He's going to be the pick. You also probably have the ACC Offensive Player of the Year if they both stay healthy, along with a lot of good college football players, right?
Yeah, experienced college
and
football
tons
too.
of experience. I'm going to write a column on it here soon, or just a story delving in to how many games this starting 22 has played. It's an incredible number. Like, who are they breaking in? Is there anybody that they're breaking into a new spot that hasn't started in college football? Like, I don't know that there's one, right?
Well, we may see somebody who emerge and give themselves a chance to play meaningful reps with certain segment groups. I'm thinking of linebacker and some others, but maybe. We don't know that yet, certainly.
Maybe Shaheem. Does he count? I mean, he played a ton of football for him this year. I don't think he started, but he played a lot of football. Is that it? You're going to have...
Yeah, but then you get into the other part of the equation that just because people are returning doesn't mean they're going to be better. You know, you don't know that Lord
knows we learned that with Duke Cooper this year.
Well, he's not the only one, but even like the linebackers, we like Kalen DeLoach and Tatum Bethune are a big upgrade over where they were 2 years ago. Huge upgrade over where they were 3 or 4 years ago, but they're not elite.
Not even close.
So there's positions on this team where they're good, but not elite. And so that, you got to remember that just because they're all returning doesn't mean they're all going to take a big step into.
But I would say, don't you think safety and linebacker, when you look at this team, is the only place where you kind of question, is that talent level good enough? I think they could have a destructive defensive line. They're going to have a good offensive line. The receivers are all back, and they're getting guys, including Winston Wright. The running back room is probably going to be the best in the ACC, and you have a Heisman Trophy winner or candidate quarterback. I think linebacker and safety are the only two kicker are the only two question marks that you have, right? And they're not horrible guys that they have back there.
And I actually think they're going to be pretty good at safety. I think they may get another safety. I think they're trying to get another safety.
That would be good. That'd be big.
But I also, I think they're going to be okay. Their linebacker's just a tricky one because, and we also don't know, Tatum Bethune might be better than what we saw this year. He had a surgery at the end of the spring, missed most of the summer, didn't really feel like himself until in the season. I'm not sure if he ever, and then he got hurt.
And then he got hurt in the season. Yeah.
So we may see a better Tatum Bethune. And Kalen DeLoach has a lot of things we like about him. Again, I just don't know that it's not elite. When
you watch Georgia's linebackers, or even when you were watching Florida State play Oklahoma, their linebackers were better than Florida State's linebackers. So you see, there's plenty of teams that have some better personnel in certain segment groups. We see that. And
we love Fabian Lovett. Thrilled he's coming back.
But he's not a dominant defensive tackle.
I mean,
he's a good player.
Right. He's a
good player.
Good college football player. We don't know about Fisk.
We'll see.
He's obviously was very highly regarded. He's coming off of a shoulder situation. So we'll have to see how that affects him during the season. Yeah. Or during the spring and off season and getting ready for the season. So there's some questions. It's not like this is a team that's coming in.
The questions change. The questions change now that the objective is different.
Right. 100%.
I mean, and so now, people get mad at me all the time when I'll say he's just another guy or nothing special. And they'll say, they'll immediately bring up, well, I mean, he's at Florida State. Look, man, it's all relative to chasing a championship. The standard is not, are you a good athlete? Obviously, if you're on scholarship to play college football, virtually anywhere, you're a good athlete. I'm talking about to the standard of championships. And every one of the comparisons we now make about a segment group or a player, don't get it misconstrued if you're listening right now. We're going to do this all off season. This is going to be a wrestling match as to what is a realistic expectation based on the talent Florida State has, the experience Florida State has, as Corey's pointed out, and what can they do better? Where can they improve? And it will be based on comparison to championship teams. It won't be, are they going to be good? We know they're good.
Yeah,
they proved that last year.
Yeah, the whole objective last year, the whole talk
have a winning season
was, can you just win at Syracuse?
Yeah.
Can you
beat the damn teams that are middling in the ACC, which is all of them not named Clemson? I mean, can you do that besides wait? And the answer was sometimes yes.
Right.
Louisville and NC State Louisville's a win, NC State's a loss. Probably should have won both those games, but they were very different looking games. And these are the conversations we're going to consistently have. They're fun. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number one, you'll never see that person again. Number two, your technician is likely to change often. And number three, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number one priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
You can already tell what's going to be a pretty consistent theme here between the fans and just the general talking points for Florida State. And that is what's realistic. You're going to get plenty of pump the brakes. But the truth is, in watching TCU this year, they were a really admirable team because they won every close game they played in, as brought up by their head coach after the game. And they were sub 500 a year ago. So to even be in this position is a remarkable turnaround. At the same time, when you watch them play, you go, Florida State would play with TCU. And when you watch most of the teams in the top 10, you say Florida State could play with those teams. When you watch Georgia, you go, motivated Georgia would kill Florida State. And I believe that's true.
And probably 99% of the teams.
That's my point. So if you're saying to win a national championship or to be talked about as having a chance to make the playoff, you have to be as good as Georgia. No. It's not true. Right. It's not true. Perhaps to win a national championship, you will have to beat a team that looks like Georgia and has players.
Maybe
not. But if you run across that kind of talent, you're at the currently constructed Florida State would get beat by Georgia badly, in my opinion, if motivated, if Georgia cared to be there, if they weren't going through the motion.
Not 65-7.
No. 65-7. In fact, I mean, I'd probably pick Florida State to beat TCU.
I did like my guy when it was 41-7 and they had a breakup in the end zone. He was like,
yeah.
Yeah, we noticed that too. Brady even said something like, yeah, you tell him.
That ain't happening.
Hey, I do want to say this as we'll get back to Z-Chan. Z-Chan, love you. The root canal was great. He didn't perform it, but I survived it.
Something within the realm of your profession, Z-Chan, I had done.
I wanted you to appreciate the guy did a great job.
You should have had him FaceTiming as a consultant and evaluate coach up the guy who was actually doing it.
I did take a picture and send it to my buddy Josh, who's a dentist, and he said it looked like great work.
There you go.
It all worked out. I was just thinking about this during the break can we just take a moment? Because 3 or 4 years ago, we were hand-wringing because they couldn't beat anyone and they looked horrible. 2 years ago, I almost wanted to quit the profession. Last year, we were hand-wringing. Coming into this year, we were just hand-wringing about can they have a winning season and get to a bowl? And now we've already leapt to can they contend for a national championship? Let's appreciate, and I'm not talking to you guys necessarily, although maybe I am. We get to cover a team that matters again, man. That was 5 years of hard. It was rough. That was rough. That wilderness was long and deep, and the brush was thick. And now we're out of it, and we're covering a team that matters again. That's a winning football team again. That some people think have a Heisman candidate, and some people think is one of the top 4 or 5 teams going into next year. I want to embrace it because I didn't appreciate it the first time around like I should have. So I'm going to embrace this next 8 months.
It's weird, though. You say that, and I think it's a fine message, and I think some people will take that approach. But I also feel like it's like somebody who, works on Wall Street, and, they had a couple tough years, but they were living high on the hog in, 2 years ago, and they got through that recession or they got through that tough time.
Yeah.
And now they're putting on the nice suit again. I don't know that they're thinking about those other. I think they're thinking like, man, this is where I belong.
Where we're supposed to be.
This is where we're supposed to be. And I think a lot of Florida State fans want to be there.
That roaming around in the wilderness nonsense can never happen again. We can't let our guard slip like that. Yeah.
I understand the sentiment, but I don't know how many people are going to think that.
And it's really the sentiment for January 10th. I'm not saying this should be the sentiment September 18th or something of this year, but the season just ended. Florida State's top 5 preseason in all these polls that don't matter yet. They just got Jared Verse to come back. They got their whole team to come back. They've got the best portal transfer roster in the country. It's cool, man. This is awesome. We're talking about a team that matters again, and not just, man, can they get enough guys to be 6-6 and get to some bowl? It's cool.
I agree with you, Corey, but I think people did that over the last 6 weeks.
Right.
With every passing win, it was evident that Florida State was a much better program and was positioning themselves to be a preseason top 20 team next year.
Yeah.
And that the expectations would be awfully high with every time that you thought about who all was returning. And then it was hopefulness, but every time you had an announcement that another kid had signed with the Battles Inn and was coming back, you got excited. I mean, I think they've done that. They've been going through that exercise.
Right. And I think there's two things that are leading to this hype that I thought I was going on a little bit of a limb last week when I said I think Florida State's going to win the ACC in a column. I didn't think that the national media would clue into what's happening at Clemson the way they have. And so I thought they would just it would just be on pre-written that Clemson's top 5 in the country or whatever. And the fact that you're seeing like in Schlabaugh's top 25 where you have Florida State at number 5, Clemson at 15. Yeah. And then Florida State finished ahead of Clemson in the final at polls, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought some people would say at the end of the day,
Clemson beat Florida State.
You beat them head to head. They both have the same number of losses. They won the ACC. I mean, but it's the combination of those two things that's going to really accelerate the hype even more. It's you had a really good season. You're bringing back almost everybody of consequence and your best players, and then Clemson's sliding. So that perception is what's really kind of putting gas on what we're going to see over these next 7 or 8 months. I think Florida State's going to be a story, one of these stories in college football over these next 7 months, and that's going to be different.
Well, and this gets back to something you alluded to in the opening segment, which is this will feel different, and it will be different, and they'll have to navigate it differently because I think Florida State has already revealed themselves to be the national darling pick for next season. So what you'll see now is a lot of guys who want to sound like they have an inside track nationally. We're not talking about locally. We all know who Florida State is. They're going to be like, hey, you guys may not have noticed this. Florida State, that's what they're going to say. It's going to be a talking point. Every year there's one of those teams. Every year there's somebody circling a team that showed vast improvement the year before and has a lot of experience coming back, in particular a quarterback.
Desmond Howard did it with Texas A&M last year based on the recruiting class they brought in.
Yeah. There's always somebody where somebody circles it and like, oh, that's going to be the one. A lot of times it's Notre Dame, a lot of teams like that. Well, Florida State will be that team. And hopefully, obviously, as we were saying earlier, that they'll handle it. I do want to read Z-Chan's comments. He did weigh in twice. He wanted some oratory on what you guys think the score would be between FSU and Georgia if they played next week. And then he also wrote apparently JT for Heisman. JT for Heisman is what
JTrav for Heisman is the official website for Florida State.
Listen, I think if Georgia, again, if we took those two teams, put them on a neutral field and Georgia cared deeply, as in the national championship was on the line, I think Florida State would lose by more than 2 scores. But, again, that's okay. It doesn't mean
the score. Give a score, not just spread.
I'll say 42-21.
I was going to say 45-30.
I don't think Florida State's blocking Georgia. I'll say 45-27, 45-20. Yeah.
So you were 3 points less.
I'm kind of excited to see Jalen Carter go into the NFL. That's not a bad thing for the rest of college football.
I said it last year, man. Out of all those dudes on that defense last year, he was the most impressive. And he barely played this year. He was hurt for a lot of the year.
By the way, we don't have anybody, not that many teams do. Well, actually, I saw no teams that did. But there's no linebacker or safety on Florida State's roster covering Brock Bowers.
There ain't anybody in the NFL covering that dude. That guy's a freak of nature.
That's a different kind of kid. And that you say that a lot watching Georgia. Well, that's different. That guy's different. Look at that.
He's the one, though. He is the him and Jalen Carter. But Brock Bowers is he's the best, I guess, other than Herschel.
Yeah,
he's the best offensive skill player that school has ever had. And I don't think it's all that close. And they've had a lot of really good ones.
Stetson's the greatest dog.
Look, Stetson's turned into a really good college quarterback. He makes throws now, and
he makes plays.
He's got onions. He throws over the middle. He can run. He's got some stuff to him. But come on now, Brock Bowers might be the first. They might have back-to-back number 1 overall pick. Can you draft a tight end number 1 overall?
I don't think you will. I don't think you.
That guy's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's a different level of recruiting, and that's where Florida State's got to get to.
I do think that, but I also think that game was magnified by a bunch of things. Corey said it right off the bat. TCU did not show up. They were not prepared for that moment. They were not prepared for that stage. And that sucks, man. Like when when your team is not ready for that moment.
It's a bad feeling.
Because they can't even compete. They weren't even competing.
Their only touchdown was the guy running free on the busted coverage. That was the only time they moved the ball at all.
Georgia could have been playing a junior college team. I mean, it was pointless. That game was ridiculous. Well, so I don't think, look, Corey texted during the game, they were, 10-7 against Georgia Tech in the second half. They've had games where they did not look like that. So,
but they also walk through the Kentucky game, the Georgia Tech game. I mean, I think you saw them not, to your point, but concentration wasn't always there.
Right. And the catches they made last night. I mean, they were any 50-50 ball they were going to win. They were locked in. That was as good as they could possibly play, and they played a team that offered no resistance. They're not what they saw. They're not what we saw last night. But, yeah, they're considerably better than everybody else.
I do think you want to get – one thing to aspire to as you're building your program is to get to a place – and Kirby, it was awesome because we've seen Florida State be this way. In 2013, they were this way, where you can almost flip a switch and say to your team, we dominate. Today's a message. Today we – overwhelm. We absolutely overwhelm. I remember NC State coming in here looking like scared children in the first quarter against Florida State. Remember?
Like that TCU.
I mean, it was just this sort of like they were in a shell because Florida State was physically overwhelming and they were motivated. They were pissed for whatever reason. They were angry. And it's like, you can only pick and choose those moments. The national championship's a good one to choose. but you can only pick and choose the time to flip the lever and say, tonight's about mauling. Tonight we are equipped. We have built this thing. We are equipped to embarrass and overwhelm. Tonight's that night. We're going to do that. You can't do it every week.
The worst thing that could have happened to TCU was Ohio State almost beating Georgia because that got them to that
Wake
level.
up, man.
And then the other thing is, man, how about Kirby's pregame speech, which you can find on the internet if you look, if you search around Twitter. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know how many parents think that it's the greatest thing in the world, but I guarantee you those kids, man, could not wait to get on that field.
Yeah, I guess he didn't give that speech in Lexington or the first half again. You know what I mean? He said
you can't dial it up every time.
You can't do it.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I was going to say, like, that Georgia team, number one, you're losing your quarterback. He's a big deal. You're losing Jalen Carter. It's not like Jalen Carter's grow on trees. That Georgia team, I watched them quite closely. They were more talented than everyone they played. They didn't overwhelm everyone they played. LSU threw for 500 yards on them. Now, Georgia's offense was very good at the end of the year. It wasn't great the whole year. I mean, they scored 16 on Kentucky. They scored 2 touchdowns against Missouri, and it's not like those guys aren't trying. They got better as the season wore on. It was a perfect combination also of playing 2 bad defenses in the playoff, and TCU just completely completely melted down in the moment, shied away. I was really disappointed in that, man. Like, take your shot. The quarterback was rattled from the jump.
Well, I think they realized early on they weren't going to be able to block him.
Well, but he also but it was like I don't know what they were thinking with their game plan. It's like, you think you're going to have that kind of time?
What was weird?
What are you doing?
Yeah, well,
you're the air raid. Go quick, throw short screen passes, get the ball down, move the ball. Like, anyway.
The receivers would run around and just stop and just stand there. It's like, because you that's not going to work against these guys.
Yeah, I'm more mad at Michigan for completely giving that game away, because I think Michigan would have given them a game. I think Michigan's going to be very good again next year. I think it certainly would have been a better game than TCU.
Well, any game would have been better than TCU. I mean, hell, we just saw a record. I don't think Michigan. We just saw Michigan and Georgia a year ago. I don't.
Well, I mean, Ohio State outplayed Georgia for 3 quarters and 15 minutes.
State recruited equivalent to Georgia,
and Ohio State lost Michigan at home. So we can't just assume that Michigan had no chance against Georgia.
No, but you would say a playoff game is a different animal than a regular season game. I mean, I'm saying, obviously,
Ohio State, Michigan's a big deal. You think Ohio State cared less against Michigan than?
I'm just saying you get time to prepare. It's just a different dynamic in the postseason versus the regular season.
I'm just saying, as somebody again that watched Georgia a lot, they didn't overwhelm teams this year like they did last year. Clearly, they lost a whole starting 11 to defense.
Yeah,
and the point being, Georgia's going to be very good again next year. They're going to have more talent than everyone on the team, everyone in the country probably. Maybe Alabama and Ohio State are close. What Florida State has done with experienced guys, 21-year-olds, buddy. I'd rather have Jared Verse or Braden Fisk than Marvin Jones Jr. And Marvin Jones Jr. might end up being awesome, but he is not going to contribute to a college football defense the way that those 2 guys will next year, because it's just about being an adult and being a man. And Florida State has 22-year-old dudes all over their team. That's cool. Yeah. They're not going to be favored against Georgia if they played. Let's hope it happens. But I think Florida State has the requisite talent, number one, and proven experience coming back that they wouldn't be blown off the field by anyone next year unless they just played horribly and had an Oregon-type game.
And I think Jeff made the right point, which is it's not all about Georgia. I mean, that's something to know that's out there to aspire to. Yeah. But the question is, can you compete and beat everybody else?
How about Wake? Let's scratch Wake off the list first. And then Clemson, and then worry about, I guess you're right. Worry about Georgia.
Oh, the thing is, we just saw the example. TCU just played for the national title. Are they anywhere close to Georgia's level of talent? Obviously not. But they won the games they had to win to put themselves in a position to be in that game to get humiliated.
Yeah.
Florida State could do that.
They would have rather, in hindsight, lost on a last-second field goal to Michigan?
I think it's cool that they played for the national title. I mean,
is it though? After
well,
that,
listen, yes, there will always be some synonymous for that kind of an ass beating. But
that's what I'm saying.
But also, the guys that lose in the Super Bowl by 5 touchdowns or 4, they wanted to get to the damn Super Bowl. Yeah. I think they cared about getting to the Super Bowl.
I mean, nobody in the Super Bowl other than the Broncos back in the day.
No, man. New England getting boat raced by the Bears, Buffalo getting boat raced by the Cowboys. I mean, listen, there have been a lot.
This is going to go down. This is an all-timer. This is like 65-7 is nuts. Go ahead and just beat Michigan on a last second.
It reminded me of Nebraska humiliating Florida.
Right.
Corey,
I think Florida, in hindsight, wouldn't have rather played that game.
I don't think that's true.
Corey, you still cherish that Falcons Super Bowl appearance? I mean,
hey, man, look, yeah, man, for about 17 or 18 minutes, we were Super Bowl champs. The wheels started coming off early fourth quarter, but for about 17, 18 minutes, we were Super Bowl champs.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Your local news now.
211 Big Bend is seeking a big need for volunteers right now. They're working to expand their mission, and they're looking for 20 new volunteers to make it happen. 211 Big Bend is a local organization providing crisis counseling, emotional support, and social services to people in need across the community. They also provide suicide prevention, partnering with the new national hotline number 988. To get more volunteers, 211 Big Bend is hosting 4 info and recruitment sessions this month. The first session is on January 17th at 7 p.m. at the FSU Dunlap Success Center. A tire blowout led to the death of a Tallahassee woman on Friday afternoon. It happened on State Road 20 in Leon County just before 4 p.m. The 79-year-old woman was traveling east on the road when a rear tire blew out on the car she was driving. The woman then drove into the westbound lane and was T-boned by a pickup truck that attempted to swerve out of the way to avoid her. The driver of the truck, a 42-year-old man from Hosford, was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 69. Winds out the west, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again tonight. Lows dip down to about 42. Mainly sunny tomorrow, high of 73. Mid-70s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 50s Friday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 64.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg?
You know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Either way, I do think we've hinted at it numerous times, and I can feel it when we have the conversation. This is going to be a fun season, but it's going to be an interminable offseason because of how excited we are for the upcoming campaign. It's going to be tough. Now,
spring will be good because it'll give us a chance to see some of these new guys and some of the position battles. And so
real position battles, real competition. Right. The spring is going to be awesome. This will be this is the kind of thing one would say if they worked for a website and wanted people to subscribe to that website.
Good time.
But I would tell you that I actually believe spring is going to be very intriguing because the talent has risen to a place where there's real competition for starters reps. And this is why, if you recruit at an elite level, you create the intensity of competition that you're looking for that will serve you well on Saturdays, which is on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I got to beat this guy out. I want to start for this team who we know is going to be good, but there's no guarantee because I got this guy and that guy that are both now maybe at my level. That's when you stockpile the kind of talent that leads to the kind of competition that really aids your endeavor on Saturday.
The one thing with looking at Georgia again, last thing I'm going to say about Georgia.
Oh, geez, the dogs, the Bulldog headlines.
But on that point, Marius Mims, who still has a not so warm piece of our hearts, he didn't play again all season until like a week ago. Then they put him in the starting lineup. Somebody got hurt, and then he's starting in the national championship game, and they ran behind him a lot.
He looked good.
So you're plugging in a 5-star at the end of a season who's been sitting on the bench for 2 years, and that's
stockpiling talent.
That's a different deal. Now, so again, Florida State is getting closer to the point where you have that talented depth. Last year, you started to see some of that in the spring. That was Mike Norvell's biggest point all spring was we actually can compete in practice now. Well, now it's even better. You've got a 2 deep now at a lot of positions, 2, sometimes 3 deep at some positions where you will see real competition. One thing I wanted to bring up though was what do you guys feel about Florida State leaning into the expectations? So something that, Aslan and I were talking about when we were driving back from Orlando. Will Mike Norvell use the word championship? Will he talk about the national landscape beyond just the ACC, things like that? Them launching that website, I do think, whether you think it's a good idea or not, it shows to me that they are going to lean into this. They're not trying to sneak up on anybody. Do you guys feel like, A, does that matter? B, like, how do you feel like that approach is?
My problem with the website is what is its purpose? The play on the field dictates the Heisman, and we all know that. And Jordan Travis is not, but he's not an untalked about commodity. People know who he is. So that's what I don't understand. There's really it's not 2009. In 2023, I don't think you need a website to promote your All-American candidate at quarterback. That's all.
What is it? I guess what's the downside?
I mean, when he doesn't win the Heisman or he has a couple bad games and it's all over the internet, it becomes a meme.
How well you think he handles pressure?
Yeah.
How well do you think Jordan Travis handles lofty expectations as opposed to being a kid who's trying to prove himself to everybody? Jordan Travis had to prove to everybody, seemingly.
Literally everybody.
But he had to prove to everybody that he deserved to be the man, and unquestioned at that, right? Even the coaching staff was like, let's go get that kid from UCF. They didn't believe it. And so he's always had the ability, because it was very real, to try to prove to others that they were wrong about his capabilities. Now he comes in unquestionably the man, not only the man, but lauded and raised on high by his own university. And there are expectations that come with that kind of hype. When you play poorly in a game like he did against NC State, the weight of that is felt much more when there are already pre-existing conditions that suggest you are above that. And that's what expectations are when they're printed or a website is developed. It's that you are the unquestioned guy. We have to worry about other people, but not you. You're the dude. You're established. So much so that we want we want to see it out there for everybody to know. So how well does he handle that? If he handles it well, if it's, water off a duck's back, then whatever. But if
they sell merch on the site, Ira, have you been to the site? Does it sell merch?
I didn't do a deep dive into it. I did go to it, but I just didn't do a deep.
If it has merch, I'm all for that. Buy as much Jordan Travis stuff as you want. I would have taken out a billboard in Times Square. I would have gone 90s. I would have gone early 90s, or maybe an ad in the USA Today. Something like that. But
some
the
people love
expectations,
that, but others cannot handle.
But I think that there are certain real implications to it from how he handles it. But I think the question of how fans perceive things like that is there. I just think there's this like mixed signals from the fan base. I think from the standpoint of they want to be back, they want Florida State to get respect. But then they're also like, oh, slowly roll with the self-promotion. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. Lean into it. I don't know what the problem to leaning. If you get embarrassed by LSU or Clemson or whoever, you got embarrassed by them either way. I don't think it's going to magnify it because you had a website for your quarterback 8 months earlier.
Again, not to me or you. I don't know how he handles it. I mean, clearly they think he is mature enough to handle those expectations, or they wouldn't have done it. I don't think they just willy-nilly decided, let's launch this campaign and not ask him how he feels about it. Well, I would hope that they would at least have that kind of internal.
Maybe it was part of his NIL deal.
I don't know what financial benefit there is to him to do that, but yeah, maybe.
It links to his online store. Who knows, man? It's 2023. Who knows?
You're right. I have not been able to dive into it. I saw the release from Derek and went, oh, great. Okay, they're doing that. And, I wasn't in love with it, but at the same time, I didn't hate it. I was completely indifferent. I cared more immediately about how does he think about it? What does he think of it? Some people, love that kind of thing. They thrive on those expectations and the pressure that comes with it. And others, man, that's not ideal. You see it in individual sports and team sports. So I don't know, but I do think that Florida State should embrace high expectations. Sure,
well, absolutely.
The reality is Caesars already came out with their odds, and he's the second highest odds. Him and Drake May are the only two right behind the reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, Williams.
So it's there was going to be expectation.
That's my point. Is like he was already out there. That name was out there. I don't know that you needed. I don't understand in 2023 the point of a Heisman campaign. Like the field does it. I mean, we talk about it 365 days a year. His name is out there. He's in the zeitgeist. But it's not a big deal either way, right?
I think the overall. I think to me it's a part of a piece of Florida State trying to seize this 7 months. Florida State, we said it earlier, Florida State's going to be one of the trendy picks. Yeah. They're going to be they're on
well, they should embrace high expectations. I mean, they put themselves in a position to be well thought of. They won 10 games. They have unfinished business. They want to be great. Everybody out there aspires to win championships. They didn't come back here just solely for the money. They want to win.
And
so they should.
And don't you think that Mike Norvell's messaging to his team needs to be closer to that Kirby Smart level of not like, hey, be your best, whatever. It's like, no, man, you guys are good. Go kick their ass.
Yeah, go dominate. You were unsure a few times last year. There's no reason for that kind of uncertainty now. You're good enough.
And I think that's going to be in embracing that over these next 7 or 8 months. Now, it may not work. They may not be good enough to win all these games.
That's right. There's the other aspect.
But I do think they're going to lean into that part of it.
Witness Fitzgerald for Groza. Is that a website that comes up soon? And also, we haven't talked about it.
Turning your mic off. We got to go to hour number 2. You silence yourself. Headliner questions forthcoming. Stay with.
Car accident? Call 777-7777 for Basic Brooks.
Hey, what's happening, Jeff?
It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain, You're frustrated with your job. Your aggravated life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. You got to get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, everybody, the perfect fireplace makes your house a home. How's your fireplace looking? Not too well? Hearth and Patio can help you with that. Actually, Hearth and Patio can help you with anything fire. Give my friends a call at Hearth and Patio. If you need new fireplace upgrade, fireplace repair, you need custom outdoor kitchen, grills, or an amazing fireplace for your backyard. 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth Patio Tallahassee. They keep the home fires burning.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Leaky faucet, busted pipes, clogged toilet? M&L Plumbing is here for you. For all commercial, construction, and residential plumbing issues, call M&L Plumbing at 575-9393 or visit online at mnlplumbing.com.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says President Biden appears to have done the same thing for which he blasted Donald Trump.
When Vice President Biden left office, it looks like he took classified documents with him, and he was very critical of President Trump.
Scalise says the classified document disclosure reveals a double standard. The top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner, has requested that the U.S. intelligence community conduct a damage assessment after potentially classified documents were found in the Washington office space of President Biden's former institute. Also at townhall.com, President Biden, Mexican President Lopez Obrador, and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau meeting in Mexico City for a series of talks on migration, trade, and climate change. During a meeting with Trudeau, President Biden says the U.S., Canada, and Mexico can accomplish some great things.
What we should be doing, and we are doing, is demonstrating the unlimited economic potential that we have when we work together and in the hemisphere, and to help the entire hemisphere.
This gathering of North American countries is held most years. Ukrainian officials say Russian forces are escalating their onslaught against Ukrainian positions around the wrecked eastern city of Bakhmut. The officials say the intense attack is bringing new levels of death and devastation in the battle for control of eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky said there is almost no life left around Bakhmut. Doctors who treated Damar Hamlin say the Bill's safety was moved to a hospital in Buffalo to continue his recovery. It's an uplifting sign of the remarkable progress that Hamlin has made just a week after going into cardiac arrest. On Wall Street, the Dow had 114 points, the NASDAQ up 76. More at townhall.com.
Entering a time of increasing hostility against people of faith, a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral and physical and financial basis, unlike any other time in our lifetime. I'm Lance Wallnau, Christian author, evangelical leader, here to remind you that you have to take action to protect and steward what God has given you. For example, record high inflation is going to continue to eat away at the dollar, and the savings of your retirement account is in danger. Fortunately, God does provide a way. To protect your retirement, I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now, to see how it works, just text the word faith to 989898. That'll give you access to a free info kit on gold IRAs. There are no strings attached, so text FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898 right now, and I pray your family is blessed with peace of mind because you took action.
Tallahassee's favorite family-owned Apple and Mac product store has moved to an all-new location. Mac and More Systems is now located at 230 John Knox Road. Same great people, same great services, same great prices, all at a new location. Mac and More offers computer and Apple device sales, one-on-one consulting, business services, and the most experienced Apple repair team in the city. Learn how to get the most out of your Apple gear. Come by and say hi to the Mac and More Systems team today at their new location, 230 John Knox Road.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines and headliner questions forthcoming. Great to be with you. Appreciate you joining us. Me and the boys back together again. We'll get to your questions momentarily. First up, our thanks to Birch Orthodontics. Let me ask you a question about our friends at Birch Orthodontics, the best in the business. We brag on them every week for good reason. You had 3 daughters go through there, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any of them ever break the retainer?
Oh.
We had a lost retainer.
Ooh, that's a toughie, buddy.
Yeah, it's costly. Actually.
Well, yeah, I just learned.
Oh,
I just found that out. Just found that out. That the
retainer is.
It's not Birch's fault.
Yeah, I think. In fact, I think our insurance might have covered part of it the first time. I'm not sure exactly, but then, when we had to replace one,
I was just informed of the replacement cost.
What also happens with the retainer is if they don't wear it for a while, that's what happened to ours. It wasn't lost. They stop wearing it for a little while, and then their teeth shift a little bit because you're not the proof.
You're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Your teeth will shift. But if you do what you're supposed to do, they'll take care of you. BirchOrthodontics.com is the website. Free consultations, incredible service, incredible orthodontic care. I'm actually going to meet Dr. Birch this week. This is I think it's her 20th year in business.
Oh, nice.
Here leading the free world in orthodontic care, and I think they're going to be celebrating it and a lot of activities coming up. So hope I'm not spoiling the surprise, Dr. Birch, but we're going to talk this week about some things that we can do to kind of help spread the word. Awesome. 20 years. Think about that, man. You put out your own sign. You put out your sign and say, hey, I'm in business, and then you build a practice the way she has. It's incredible.
Yeah, you build and build.
Chris Ricks was the quarterback when she started.
How about that?
Sometimes.
Well, not better than the James Blackman years.
Well, low standards that you're holding them to there.
Don't know how good they had it.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We got questions. I want to get to them. Josh writes, fellas.
First of all, why are we going bespectacled in the second hour, Corey?
Just changing it up a little. I think I'm going to do this. This is going to be my look now. I think I've decided that I'm going to wear I'm going to be a glasses wearer almost full time now.
Okay. You just made that decision 6 minutes ago.
I don't think you made that decision. I think you made the decision because you couldn't see what the hell you were looking at just in the first hour and realized I really need to start wearing these.
No, see, I just think Tom's right. I think it's a good look. I've been told by multiple people it's a good look. I looked at my dumb face for the last hour and I was like, I'm tired of looking at me without glasses. Let's switch it up.
No, it is a good look. I mean, I told you that when you got the glasses, buddy, but it's also because you're blind as a bat.
And it makes me look smart.
Anything to help out in that realm, buddy. Here we go.
Exactly.
Fellas, if FSU can find a solution at safety in the portal, or if Travis J summons his inner LaMarcus Brutus, that's a good point about LaMarcus Brutus. Remember that?
Man, that's a good callback.
Yeah. No expectation LaMarcus Brutus turned into a pivotal component of that defense.
He's a nice player.
He got everybody lined up. Remember that?
Yeah. He was smart. And he was in place to make plays.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Could FSU field a playoff quality defense? It seems to me that between the latest portal haul and the talent developed by the staff, excluding Woodson, the Noles finally have mid to upper tier ACC caliber players in the 3 deep. Do you agree?
This is clearly a Facebook question because you can't get all those
it is
characters in Twitter.
Yeah.
Look
It's
at
well
you
thought
trying
out,
to
too.
decipher the first question and where it's from. My guy is that concerned.
It's a
about
well thought
where
out
we
question.
started
That's why
this.
you know it's Facebook.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have Director Matthew here log in. The Twitter won't let me pull it up because it's questioning the credentials. We're using Tom Lang's computer, and I don't know his password.
What's T Lane getting into where it questions his credentials? Get on your phone. Get on your phone, Jeff.
I could in just a second. I'm trying to do both.
We'll answer this one while the director fixes your problem.
This is what we're doing. See, it's a security deal.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Won't it be better than TCU's defense? And TCU's defense was a playoff caliber defense. It got them. They were in the playoffs this past year.
Yeah, but I think implied in this is we're going to get this a lot. Ira and I have argued over this. I think we're not really arguing, which was your point last week, Corey. I think we're kind of on the same page. You can be average on defense and make the playoff. We just watched it happen. Ohio State wasn't great on defense this year either, by the way, and obviously it cost them dearly because they would have beaten Georgia. Their offense was championship-level offense. So is Florida State in that realm as a lot of other average-ass to slightly above-average defenses that could go and win 11 or 12 games this year? Yes, I think so. Are they championship level as in they can maul, dominate if given the opportunity, if motivated, if focused? I don't think so.
Against bad offenses, they can.
Well, we saw that.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, but against good teams who you're presumably going to be playing in the playoffs.
And I think that most defenses can't. There are a few that can.
Right, but it's okay to want to be
right.
one of the few that can and to hold them to that standard.
Is it realistic, even with the personnel we've talked about, and we like the players that are coming back? Everybody's happy that all of these guys are coming back on defense. They got 9 starters back on defense, a bunch of backups back on defense. You brought in some nice players from the portal, but I don't think any of us believe that that's going to be – I don't think any of us believe, I don't believe that no matter who's coaching them, that's going to be a defense that's shutting down good offenses.
I agree with that. I agree. They took a step in the right direction by telling Woodson he should indeed take the Arkansas gig.
At a $200,000 raise.
Yeah, go do that and take it on down the line. That's step number one. Increasing the quality of talented depth is a process. I get that. And they're not anywhere close to where they need to be for us to make that kind of an assertion, right? That they are going to be a dominant defense and have a chance to shut down good offenses. I think the better offenses are going to move the ball against Florida State just as they did this year.
Because you're not going to have – Corey, you think this defensive line is going to be very good, right? You think it's going to be the best part of this defense. It's going to be very good, but you also have to be elite there and elite at corner, I think, to handle a great – I mean, to really affect a good college quarterback, a very good college quarterback.
I think
you're not going to be elite at corner. I mean, Fentanyl Cypress might be close.
I think the question, though, is a little flawed in the sense that I think you almost have to look at it as point differential more than do you have a championship caliber defense. If you have a top 25 defense and the number 3 offense,
right,
that's plenty good to not only get in the playoff, but do damage in the playoff. It's the point differential. If you're scoring 40 points a game and giving up 23, okay, well, the 23 points per game isn't great, but you're outscoring teams 17 points a game. That's what you're trying to do. I think it when we talk about the complementary football, you're not going to have a dominant defense this year, even with those guys. You're just not. I just don't think you're strong enough at linebacker or safety to be dominant. But you can be good enough if you stay healthy. I think the defensive line is a strength, and you can get to the playoff with a great offense and a good defense. That recipe works. It just does. Can you win it? Who knows? Let's get there and find out. But the point differential, scoring 40, giving up 20, is the same to me as scoring 30 and giving up 10.
And the offense has to show up in those big games.
Exactly right. And the offense did not against Wake, and it did not against NC State, and that's why they lost those games. The defense was plenty good enough to win those games. It wasn't great, clearly, but it did its part if the offense could have done its part, and it didn't. Now, also, the defense didn't do its part against Florida and Oklahoma, and the offense did, and they won that way. So it worked both ways.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good enough to win a lot of games is the answer to the question. Are they a championship level team?
Well, that wasn't the question. It was playoff, and I think they're playoff
that's
level.
where we're going to take all of this because I agree, Corey, especially in this conference when you look
what I mean.
If you look at the schedule, they're going to win. I mean,
That's what I was just pulling up the schedule.
It's an ass schedule, really, in a way, if you think about
it. Especially if you're good
with
what you've got.
This is the schedule that Clemson would dominate. They'd have 2 games a year they had to worry about, maybe one against FSU if we were any good, and then like maybe somebody in the Coastal would rise up and be decent, right? But everybody else, they pretty much ran roughshod over. And if you're operating at peak efficiency and you're good again, you're beating people's ass on the regular in this conference. I mean, you will. You're going to beat Virginia Tech when you play them. They're not any good. Look at the rest of the conference schedule. It's not. I mean, listen, if you can't get past Wake this year, then what the hell are we doing here?
Just blow it up. Just blow it up. And I mean blow up Wake.
But I'm saying we're instantly going to say that they're good enough to do that next year, and I'm in agreement with that. But I think the next logical step is to say, okay, well, how much closer are we to not only doing that, but then to making a difference and an impact in a college football playoff? If we have to play great teams from other conferences, how close are we to them? Clemson ended up having to prove that against Alabama, and they did, right? They had to prove that against other elite Ohio State, and they did, right? You saw that. How close are we to being that kind of good is the question that I think fans will be asking. Like, I know that we can point differential, look good. On paper, the defense is going to have good stats because they're going to play a bunch of sorry-ass offenses like Syracuse and others. I don't know if we play Syracuse next year. But anyhow, the point would be, I don't know that those numbers are going to be reflective of a dominant defense. The numbers might say they are, but I don't think we think they will be that.
Well, in the first game of the season, you're going to be playing an LSU team that's got a whole lot of weapons and a quarterback that really came onto his own late in the year and a really good coaching staff.
Yeah. So and you can lose that game and still beat. I'm not saying you will, but you could lose that game, as proven just a moment ago by LSU. You can lose that game and go on to have an awesome season and position yourself to be a playoff team.
That's why I think it's smart to lean into the expectations, because you want to be as high as possible to start the season. So in case you lose, you don't fall far. You know, if you come into the season at 12 and you lose that game, then you fall to 18 or 19. There's a possibility. We don't know for sure, but there's a good chance you fall out of the top 15. If you start the season at 5, they're probably not dropping you to 15.
Well, it depends on how it looks. Obviously, if the final score is 28-27 or something like that, as opposed to 35-10. Yeah. I think that Florida State should embrace high expectations across the board. There's a nuanced thing about, whether or not you should have a Heisman website or whatever else. But as far as embracing expectations, embracing expectations of being great. Well, that's what the hell you work for. I mean, what else are you doing? I mean, you embrace mediocrity? Back to questions. We have figured out the Twitter thing. Here you go, Ira.
Thanks.
So I really want to go to the Clemson game this year, writes Gil. Never been to a game there, and I figure this could be the year we beat that ass.
One of the years.
All right. However, never been to Pitt, and if there's an MLB or NHL game the same time, it'd be hard to pass up. What say you all? I know where JC stands.
So are we going to Pitt this year?
Yeah, we are on the road at Pitt, yeah.
But yeah.
Boston.
I think it's early in the season, so we go to a Pirates game, buddy.
Go to Pitt, man. Well, we'll see what the schedule is. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know the date.
They go to Boston too, so you could go to a Red Sox game.
Damn right.
Yeah,
you got to.
The Pitt's a good trip. It's definitely a good trip, but yeah, winning at Clemson would be pretty cool. I mean, that game's going to go a long way to determining your season.
I'll be at that game.
I'll be there. It'll be a big game. Could be 2 top 10 teams, 2 Heisman front runners.
I'm going to try to finagle my way back on the field like we did in 13 again for the whole game. Just stand there for the whole.
That was bad. You haven't done it since, and they haven't won up there since. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
My fault. Nate writes, "Do we need the battles in to get Corey a new laptop microphone?"
That was last week. Come on now.
People have some resentment about that effort a week ago, Corey.
I wasn't fired up about it.
I got a text from a friend of ours who I won't name, but he texted me about, he goes, yeah, I'm 5 minutes into headlines, and I don't know if I can do it this week.
I can't do it this week.
I need to hear Corey's dulcet tones loud and clear.
Look, I tried to take most of last week off. I didn't even talk that much because I was like, this isn't fun for anyone. I'm just going to interject a witticism here or two, but let you two guys carry the show, and clearly you couldn't. People are complaining.
All right.
Well, we kept getting interrupted by the echoes of the silo you were in doing the show, so it was difficult.
I know, that was bad.
If we turn out like Cincinnati or TCU when it comes to the playoffs next season, will you still call the season a success, regardless if we win or not? This is from Timmy. Yeah, if they go to the college football playoff, the season is a success.
Buddy, 3 years ago, you had like one of the worst programs in America you were cheering for, and now they'd be in the playoff. Yeah, you'd be all fired up for that.
TCU just had a successful season, and they didn't even win the Big 12 championship. But that is a successful – they just played for the national title.
Yeah, I think a narrow, close loss to Michigan. Maybe they get screwed on some call by the ref.
Man.
I think they feel better today.
Would rather have beaten Michigan than lose to them to avoid this ass shellacking.
If you'd have told those kids walking off the field, you're going to lose 65-7 next week.
When you're 50 years old and you're able to say to your grandkids that you played in the national championship.
And then your grandkids going to be like, well, what was the score?
We got killed. We got run off the field. But the build up to that game and the experiences I had in knocking off Michigan in the semifinals,
it's a great win.
National title.
How many people do you know that played high school football and will tell you, oh yeah, I got run over by Emmitt Smith, or I got just being in that arena.
I got lit up by Stetson Bennett.
Seriously,
they're going to be sharing that at the alumni stories forever.
Drew writes, "What transfer makes the biggest impact next year?"
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say Fentrell Cypress. I think
that's where I was going.
If he's as good as he looks, according to PFF, and the coaches and the media picked him second team All ACC. PFF had him first team All ACC. I think they were solid at corner this year, but that would be a difference maker to me if you had a legit big time corner.
Man, the beauty is there's good answers across the board.
Yeah,
Jahi Bell's going to be a game changer. Fisk, if he's as good as advertised, what he does for the whole defense, being stout up front with Fabian Lovett, and now Daryl Jackson gets to be a backup. Malcolm Ray gets to be a backup. Josh Farmer gets to be a backup. What he just does for your entire depth. And then Byers.
Jeremiah Byers is a big deal too, because he's not – a lot of these transfers they brought on the offensive line, the Dylan Gibbons and Justin Turnantine and Dimitri Emanuel, those guys have been very good for what they needed. They were an upgrade.
Yeah.
But they weren't stars where they were before. Jeremiah Byers was a star where he was before.
And I wanted to – this is what I took a shot at Fitzmagic the last hour. I wasn't doing that just to take a shot at him. I did want to transition into – they did get a kicker in the portal. Now he's a walk-on.
But guaranteed success for that kid.
ETSU.
But for Metsu, yeah, man, Johnson City, stand up.
Hey, I can't wait to interview that kid.
No, you've been to the same haunts, I'm sure. 30 years later,
we probably hung out at the same bars. Yeah, yeah, without question.
But maybe had the same teachers. But like that could end up being a very big deal. Like if it, because I love the message it sends is that. To me, I saw that and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you put all your chips in this middle here, man. Your kicking situation was not good enough this past year.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. Not for an elite football team that's trying to win games. You lost the game this year because you couldn't trust your kicker to make a 37-yard field goal. And so moving forward, whether Fitzgerald wins the job, he's going to have real competition and he's going to have real pressure, real practice pressure to win that job, which he didn't have last year. Because this kid's made I think he's made 70 field goals in his career at ETSU.
Yeah, you can't demand what they're demanding of all these players and then not make every move you could possibly make to give them a chance to win these games. I thought Florida State's players, offensive, defensive, everybody in the team showed remarkable teammateness, restraint, supporting Ryan when he was having some tough times.
Camaraderie.
They did. Right? It was impressive.
At some point,
was teetering, and if you go into another year, it would be a problem. But I'm not over a problem with two kickers. I don't have a problem with, hey, you missed the first one? Okay, we're going to go with this guy.
Yeah. Stop sucking. I've got options. This isn't going well. Really quickly, let's rapid fire two of these. We have a lot of questions today. Is FSU pursuing any more high school recruits for February, or do you think they'll focus strictly on portal guys to finish out the 23 class?
I think they're going to the portal.
Me too. Christian writes, how would you power rank all the Power 5 college football teams in Florida going into next year? Well, this is easy. Florida State, Florida, Miami. Parker writes, nobody disagrees with that, right?
Is UCF in the Power 5 yet?
No.
Aren't they a Power 5 school?
Oh, is that, am I missing that?
I thought they were going to the Big 12.
Is it next year? Is it next year?
I don't know if it's next year or not.
Maybe not.
Florida State's still better than them, and so is Florida. And so, what does it matter? I said it right.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
They might be better than Miami.
Maybe. Middle Tennessee State was better than Miami down there. So
it's
truly possible. Parker wants to know over under 1.5 wide receivers transferring out in the spring. Well, this is something to keep an eye on. We said spring would be interesting. Running back, wide receiver would be two spots that I would be keeping a close eye on to see if there's somebody coming out of spring realize they're further down the depth chart than they anticipated or hoped for and decide to walk.
In the chat real quick, everybody's clarifying that, yes, 2023 UCF is in the Big 12.
Well, fine. Then we'll go Florida State, Florida, UCF, Miami.
There you go.
Yeah,
I can get
UCF,
behind that.
Florida could be a toss-up.
I think Florida will be better than UCF. But either way.
But as far as, I don't know about running back. I think they're set at running back now. I mean, CJ Campbell, I guess.
Yeah, but wide receiver was the question.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
1.5.
Said running back or wide receiver. I don't know if I'd say under 1.5. I think there's probably one. I don't know if there's two. There could be.
Bump it up. I go over. I'm going to go over.
I think I'm leaning over as well. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Car accident? Call 777-7777 for Basic Brooks.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Thank you for calling the Medicare Help Desk. How can we help you?
Can you help me choose the right coverage for myself and my wife?
We sure can. We can help you choose from Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, or standalone prescription drug plans from over 30 different insurance carriers.
How much does it cost? We have a fixed income and can't afford extra expenses.
At the Medicare Help Desk, the consultation is completely free. We are here to help.
Thank you, Medicare Help Desk.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. In my 17 years of experience, I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk, a place for you to get clear answers to all your questions and make sense of all the confusion. I've helped thousands of clients, and I live right here in Tallahassee with my family. I am active in my church and wish to help and serve my community. If you need help navigating the Medicare landscape, I'm easy to find. Just visit the MedicareHelpDesk.com. That's the MedicareHelpDesk.com.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods, but the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it, and join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
You're listening to Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
It's a new year, new you. So give yourself a fresh start with MyBookie, whether you bet to earn or to make the games more exciting. MyBookie gives you the most for your money and their redesigned deposit bonus. That's right. Just use promo code WARCHANT on a deposit of $50 or more to receive a cash bonus instantly to your MyBookie account. Using the bonus is simple. Bet your deposit amount just one time, and you're ready to cash out. No strings attached with MyBookie. Bet on the NFL, UFC, or play for a share of big cash prizes for the weekly online blackjack tournaments. So many brands to choose from. You need a platform that makes it simple to bet and win like MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie. Boom!
That was well done, by the way.
Thank you. That was a 100% domination.
Corey,
we Georgia right there.
We just lost Corey, apparently, which is fine. I mean, I don't think anybody's complaining.
He just dropped that. Just a sorry-ass internet connection for him.
Maybe next week he'll be on the show. Maybe he'll be in studio next week.
Come on, Corey. Get it together, buddy. All right, well, we can still answer questions, Ira. Let's keep at it. Am I the only one, writes Willie, that's worried about the only position we're not kicking ass in the transfer portal at? Linebacker. Well, they're bringing in a kid and Blake Nicholson that they love and who has the body type to maybe compete right away. We'll see. We talked about this once before, Ira. You and I did. I do think they could use another guy, just because if the starters go down, we've seen that it's not great depth there, not talented depth there.
Right. We saw DJ Lundy step up and play a role. I mean, they've got some guys. Brennan Gant has moved to that position.
He actually had a surprisingly decent season. Yes.
Right. And I think when you look at their priorities now in the portal, as they go into this next stage of the portal, because there will be some more activity. It's kind of shut down right now.
Right.
Not shut down, but they're trying to get a defensive end. That they may get a defensive end here in the next few days or so. So we'll see. They're trying to get a defensive end. Then they're going to obviously try to get a safety. Then I think linebacker's probably next on the list. And then we'll see what they do. But they're not. I don't think linebacker's an urgent need. But if you're going to be very good, then yeah, it's they've got to get better. It would be tricky though, because how does that mess with chemistry? If you bring in a guy who's going to start from there's Corey Clark.
Hey, he's back.
Can you hear me? Am I back?
I think so, buddy. We can hear you. You're back. Next question. Corey, Jeff, Ira, good day. While most Noles fans are ready for a great 2023 season, I'm eager to know what FSU has to do in order for Corey to give us an hour number 2 and for Jeff to do a 180 on Jacksonville the way that he did with Orlando. Well, I guess I did do a 180 on Orlando. I mean, I'm not telling you I'm moving there tomorrow or anything like that. But
real quick.
I think you did a 90.
Hold on one second. So, yeah, On Three, as we were just talking about defensive end, maybe getting a commitment soon.
We got something. Here we go.
On Three reported that is Hayes Foster from On Three Sports is reporting that South Carolina defensive end transfer Gilbert Edmond, who visited last week, he has committed to Florida State. And he's a 6'5", 250-pound defensive end from Fort Pierce. He has 2 more years of eligibility remaining. You guys are going to talk about that while I post a story that we haven't that needs to be posted on the site. It's only
get after it, buddy.
It's only going to take me a second.
Let me turn your mic off while you.
You get off the screen. You get off the screen.
Corey and I'll hold it down here. This is an interesting question from Ryan, and it kind of makes me smile. I think it's funny, but it's an easy answer for both of us, Corey. First of all, you didn't answer the other question. What would it take for you to do an hour number 2?
A playoff berth.
Okay.
I don't want to be that greedy. An ACC championship. I think that's worthy of it.
Yeah.
Because what if you win the ACC at 11-2, but you don't get in the playoff because you lost to LSU and then Clemson the first time or something, but you beat Clemson in the championship game? I'll take that. That's hour number 2 worthy for sure.
Okay, I like it. And I don't know what it would take for me to do a 180. For Jacksonville, the way that I did for Orlando. If somebody set me up with a nice beach condo in Ponte Vedra, I would certainly do the 180. That's more Ponte Vedra.
I also don't think you did, like I said, I don't think you did a 180 in Orlando. You did bet about a 90 to 100. You weren't full. You didn't completely turn around.
I gave Orlando a that-a-boy.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I gave Orlando
you're cute for a fat girl or something. You were kind of patronizing in your appreciation for Orlando. Or cute for a fat guy, I should say.
It was
aggressive. Gender specific.
Ryan writes, what does it say about Mike Norvell that he couldn't get Jamie to stay? Nothing.
He sucks. He's the worst.
It doesn't say anything. I mean, Jamie needed to go. I hope Mike put his arm around him, told him to go to the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that's a tongue-in-cheek question, I would imagine. But hey, speaking of the guy they just got, Gilbert Edmond, like he's not a guy, he's not Jared Verse. He's not going to come in and start right away necessarily, but that's a guy that's played a lot of football in the SEC. He's a defensive end. I think he had 9 tackles for loss this past year. That's a great question, Noldad 77, but no, I can't do it for basketball, especially not this particular basketball team. But that would be awesome if they got to 10 straight wins over Miami. That would be incredible.
Dude, the Platinum Bohica, I may do hour number 2.
You should do an hour number, like a real straight up hour number 2.
I'll do that. Yeah.
For the whole week. But that kid, again, you're talking about depth and you're talking about guys, no offense to Leonard Warner, but when you took Jared Verse off the field and replaced him with Leonard Warner, that's an enormous gap. Now you have a guy that closes that gap a little bit. It's not so precipitous a fall in talent level from one. That's the depth you need. That's ready-made SEC caliber depth all across your defensive line at every position. That's good to have.
Eric writes a great question because I get to probe your brain, Corey, and I'm sure you have an opinion on this because I do as well. Eric writes, which is more mysterious, what happened to D. Cooper or what happened to DB Cooper?
So he's asking about Duke Cooper versus DB Cooper.
Yeah. Now, listen, I don't know if you do this, but in any of these grand mysteries, I don't care if it's Bigfoot or an actual heist like DB Cooper stealing money, and then jumping out of a plane thousands of feet in the air and landing in the forest, Seattle or outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I root for it to be true. And I root for the best case scenario most of the time. Like, I want to believe that DB Cooper safely navigated those trees in that altitude in the dead of
eaten
night.
by a bear.
Right. And that he landed and he somehow kind of just jogged away with all of his cash and lived a life. Just was like at a cantina in Mexico, loving life with millions of dollars that I want to believe it. But most assuredly, that did not happen. He's dead. It didn't work out. It was tragic, I'm sure.
I think he probably landed on rocks and broke bones, broke his legs, couldn't move, and then bears came up and ate him as he was just laying there ready to die. Yeah. But maybe he had grandkids and they he had a great life and had generations of family came from him. And I don't think he killed anyone, right? He was just
no. He didn't.
I kind of root that he survived too, but there's probably no doubt he did. So in that regard, Duke Cooper had a better year than DB Cooper did his last year on Earth, right? Like Duke Cooper's still alive.
Well, we don't know.
Theoretically can get better.
We don't know. DB may be chilling with his cash.
Grandkids. Yeah, you're right.
He wouldn't still be alive, would he? I mean, they do a special once a year that draws me in somehow, and I'm caught. Maybe that guy was DB Cooper.
Kim and I just watched one the other day.
You can't help yourself. There's a dude living in the hills of Washington somewhere. Like, he looks kind of the way he answered that last question.
And the way they presented every single guy they show, you're like, that's him.
That's him. That son of a bitch has been living there all along. Yeah, I know.
He disappeared 51 years ago. So there's a chance he could still be alive. He could be like 85 years old or something.
Telling you, man, he's living life somewhere. Yeah, that would be, I root for that. I always do. As far as Duke Cooper goes, I would like to believe he was hurt. I mean, I want to believe that he just was playing through injury and it seriously affected his overall play week to week because he fell off a cliff.
Tell you what, man, the forced fumble makes up for a lot of it because that was a
big play.
Huge play, dude. I mean, there was a good chance they don't win that football game if he doesn't force that fumble.
I agree.
Yeah. And he if he doesn't get better, he will not see the field.
That is
2023.
Correct. Brandon writes, I know the season is over, but is it me or did we lose the opening coin toss 95% of the time? Hopefully our coin toss luck doesn't bleed over to our fourth down luck next season. What was it was high.
I would say it was 2. I think they were 2-11. So I don't know the percentages. That's not 93%, 95%, but whatever is that, 86%? They lost it, or 2 out of 13. They lost it 11 of 13 times. They lost the coin toss, I think. I mean, it was incredible. Whether they're picking it or the other team's picking it, I'm pretty sure the other team was perfect in Doak calling the coin.
Whatever the methodology was, they need to do the opposite next year. Sean writes, what do you think? Who do you think got the better NIL deal, Verse or Travis? Travis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Travis got the better NIL.
And you know what's cool about it? Well, not cool, but something that I think is part of the equation is Verse, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Verse in particular. He's only a sophomore. So he can still go pro early next year. You know what I mean? It's not like these guys have been in college for 4 years. I mean, they're all still sophomores that still have the ability to go early next year as well. And I assume they all will.
Ashley writes, the Battle's End tweeted the news of their relationship with Daryl Jackson at 45 minutes to 3. When can we expect this level of pettiness from the headliners? Oh, it's existed.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we can be petty about a lot of things. It's not always very specific, but we're petty.
I did like the 45 to 3. That was clever.
I'm still tweeting about Jimbo.
Well,
There's
you
one
are.
today. Did you see the one from Brett McMurphy? I'm showing some restraint, though.
Yeah, you're trying not to bring it back up?
McMurphy tweeted that he's now the only coach to ever have 3 teams start a season in the top 6, I think, nationally, and finish unranked. It's happened 3 times now.
He was the only coach to have done it twice.
Well, he's just broke his own record.
Now he just broke his own record. He's done it 3 times.
You won't have to worry about it next year.
No.
That's true. Bob writes, gentlemen, I hope all is well with you and your families. Are you concerned that Coach Norvell is too offensive focused? I remember maybe incorrectly that Memphis would score in bunches, but his defense gave up a ton of points as well. Will Coach develop a quality defense? Bob, that's a good question, buddy. You don't always ask good questions, but that was a good one.
Well said.
That was not necessary.
Well, I'm allowed. I mean, Bob can handle that kind of brutal honesty.
Yeah, he can, but I don't know if it was necessary.
We don't. Hey, Bob, he does not speak for us. He speaks only for himself. I think all your questions are
Bob
good.
is going to admit that that's true.
Well,
we're not all so soft out here, guys. We can.
And I'll be honest. I thought that question kind of sucked, Bob. I'll be honest. Just kidding. No, I think
I made my comment about the question. There you go.
Look, I don't think you could say a defense that held. I mean, I know they weren't playing the great shakes of the world, but they were giving up. Would they give up 16 points total in 3 straight weeks during the course of this season?
I'm saying they definitely can dominate an offense.
So,
not good.
Quality,
yeah,
not dominant, but the wording was a quality defense. I think this year they were quality. Now you can define your terms of what quality means, but I think top 25 in the country is a quality defense by any metric. And then can he develop a dominant defense? I think is the better question, and we do not know. Because, yeah, man, those Memphis games were a bunch of 46 to 44s. But in those conferences, all the good athletes are on one side of the ball. That's why UCF, even when they were winning their fake national championship, couldn't stop anyone. All their great players were on one side of the ball. Well, most of them.
Elise writes, based on last night's final college football ranking of 11th and being shown between 4 to 6 on the various way too early rankings for next season, what is the over-under for a national championship possibility next year? What is the over-under on JT for Heisman? Well, that's not quite worded right, Elise.
I don't know how you do an over-under.
Yeah, you can't do it really over-under on that. But I get what you're asking. What's the likelihood? What are the percent chances? I don't know. How would you apply a percentage chance on that? I mean, I think you'd have to go game by game and give your percentage chance that you think they win the individual game, and then project, I guess, you think they would face in a playoff, and give your thoughts on that, and then come up with an overall percentage. But
what hurts them is number one, man. If the 12-team playoff was starting next year, I would almost think they're a shoo-in if they stay healthy. Like 2-loss Florida State would be one of the top 12 teams in the country, even if they lost twice. My concern with this season is the schedule is not very tough. And if you lose to LSU to start the year and Clemson doesn't end up being great, there's no way you can make yourself maybe appealing enough to be one of the top 4 teams in the country, even if you end up beating Clemson twice.
Yeah, style points will matter, right, Corey? Because what will happen is that let's say you lose a close game to LSU, just like you won a close game against LSU this year. Now, you're right. LSU being in the West, they had ample opportunities to win meaningful games and elevate their stock. Florida State will not have those same opportunities. But if you beat the bejesus out of folks and you lost narrowly to a good LSU, then, I mean, you got to manhandle some people. Like, let's say you go to Wake Forest and win by 21. You go to Clemson and you win big. It's never in doubt. And then, obviously at the end of the year, you go to Florida and you win big there. I guess you'd have an opportunity certainly to present your case, but it is going to be difficult if they don't dominate and they do lose that first game. If there's anybody else that's in the conversation who's had a better schedule, and I would imagine, frankly, that a lot of people will have a better schedule than Florida State just based on what we're looking at here.
Well, and it's also, call it bias or whatever, but Wake could be ranked 11th in the country. If you go up there and beat them, you're not going to get credit for it. If Alabama goes and beats Tennessee, it's not going to be thought of the same way. It's not going to matter as much. Even if Pitt's ranked 16th, beating a 14th ranked Pitt isn't nearly as big as beating a 14th ranked Auburn in the people that vote on this stuff in their eyes. It just isn't. So maybe Florida's pretty good. And if you go down there, you give yourself a chance. If you beat Clemson twice in Florida and lose narrowly to LSU, or beat LSU, lose narrowly to Florida, but beat Clemson, whatever it is, there's a chance. It's tough when you don't get those kind of marquee matchups to impress. You almost have to be perfect in the ACC to get one of those 4 spots.
Butch wants to know, hello, gents, taking into account Coach Hamp's success on the court and off the court with the program, do you think he's earned naming rights to either the TLCCC or the court at the TLCCC? Curious to get your thoughts.
There have been a lot of people throwing that out there the last year or so. I don't know.
Yeah, for the court, absolutely. I don't think you're going to name it the Hamilton Center. Although, who was Tucker? I've looked him up.
You've gone down this road before, Corey. Don't go down this road.
He was just a state representative, right?
He was a Gator, wasn't he?
So here's the deal. I think Corey may have written that. He was a supporter of Florida State. I think he did attend Florida.
Did Corey besmirch?
Yes. And
You know how quickly Ira went yes because he's had to cover this mess.
Well, yeah. So anyway, he did a lot to help Florida State get that building.
And Corey just sideswiped him in an article.
Let's answer the question. Yes, Hamilton. That I think we're all on board with the court naming. We'll see if that happens. It would be cool if they did it next season is a good season, and then they could do it at that point.
Do you think he will announce his retirement before a season or after the season?
Knowing him, I would say after.
I don't like that. I wish he would do it before and get his his just desserts, his flowers,
celebration, the waves.
Well, and also name the court after him while he's still coaching. I think that would be a cool thing to do. I don't know. They did it with Krzyzewski. Now I know Krzyzewski won a few more games and a few more trophies, but still.
I'm just sad I don't get to make fun of Roll It Out There Roy anymore. Just to watch him losing games against teams that he has far more talent.
Rolled out there, Hubert hasn't been doing great either the first half of this season. He's got to get it together.
That is true. And by the way, one note here quick. I just want an opinion from both of you because I don't know if you share my sentiment. But Corey, I know you watch a lot. Ira, I know you do too. I'm bitterly disappointed in the product of college basketball. It's hard to watch, guys.
It's
not very good.
What's weird though is that college football kind of had a renaissance.
It had a great year.
In college basketball, there's been other years where it's been better. So maybe it's just a cyclical thing.
I'm hoping because
I honestly think the officiating has made it more than anything. The officiating is what kills the sport. I got so mad. Ira told me to shut up because it happened. It was a charge that was called on Georgia Tech, and Darren Green slid under a guy on a 2-and-1. It was a horrible call. They called a charge because they always do.
Yes,
and it's what's ruining the sport. You have a 2-on-1 fast break. A kid slides into a guy in the air. They call it on the kid in the air, and you've taken 2 points away, and they do it all the time. You're allowed to clutch and grab. The charge has ruined college basketball in my opinion. Not ruined it. I still watch it. But
I'm not a big fan of the way that they implement that rule. And I also it feels like to me, and this is just anecdotal, but I need to go look. Nobody can shoot. I watch college basketball.
Old man
games.
on a hill.
No, I'm saying I watch college basketball games 58-49 or 64-57.
What happened to the mid-range jumper?
Well, I don't even care. No, I get analytics, and I understand why you choose to shoot. Yeah, shoot. That phrase is kicking my ass. It happened to shoot
dunks
certain
and layups,
shots,
dunks and three-pointers.
Yeah, I get all that. I understand it. I'm with the times. People can't shoot. Wide open looks like, damn it, this is awful.
You've been watching a team that has maybe Florida State has sullied your view of the game itself.
I've watched so much NBA this year, and they're having a renaissance as well. There's so many good players in the NBA right now.
Every night there's somebody scoring 55. Every night there's somebody scoring 50.
It's so fun to watch right now. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Your local news now
The Tallahassee Police Department was investigating a shooting Saturday night that left one man injured. The victim was walking near Clare Street and Volusia Street around 10:33 p.m. when he heard a gunshot. When the victim started running, he realized he had been shot in the thigh. Shortly after the shooting, his friend took him to a local hospital. The victim did not share much information. No arrests have been made at this time, and there is no available suspect description. The amphitheater at Cascades Park is set to receive a new name, and the city of Tallahassee is inviting the community out to attend the ceremony for the amphitheater on Monday the 16th. The amphitheater's new name is Adderley Amphitheater in honor of jazz musicians Julian Cannonball and Nathaniel Nat Adderley, also known as the Adderley Brothers, in which the city says both have boasted local ties. The ceremony will take place at the amphitheater at 3:30. The ceremony will include a musical tribute featuring works by the Adderley Brothers, followed by Tallahassee Nights Live. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 69. Winds out of the west, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again tonight. Lows dip down to about 42. Mainly sunny tomorrow, high of 73. Mid-70s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 50s Friday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 67.
Jeff, look at this beautiful day, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly. I like it. You know, I'm a colder weather guy, but I worry about it for you because you can't wear the Speedo in the cold. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to wear a Speedo in the cold.
Jeff, it's always Speedo weather, man. We can always do this. Besides, my pool, it's heated.
Which means you're insufferable in a Speedo year-round?
Cannonball!
Still gross. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We can talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Few questions to get to. Ambassador to Florida writes, next season, what's more likely to cost us a big game? Is it roster talent or play calling? I would say roster talent in all likelihood would be the one that costs you a big game. You concur with that?
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose to somebody, I think it's probably going to be because of that. We'll see. You know, I mean, Clemson's going to be a coin toss. I think
they're not devoid of talent.
Yeah, that's not going to be like an easy win. And there's probably a couple other games that will be pretty coin tossy kind of games.
Isn't it crazy, though? You kind of go into next season thinking you got at least 8 wins. Like, you have to lose every, but like,
yes,
you start the season with 8 and you go from there. Like LSU, I think's a coin toss. Clemson's a coin toss. Maybe at Florida, depending on what they look like next year. It's in the swamp, but it may be at Pitt or another ACC game. But all the other ones, you feel like, man, you just have gotten this roster to a point, mainly through South Carolina, but you've gotten this roster to a point where you feel really good going into every game. Does Shane Beamer?
What did we do to you all?
I was going to say, what does it go back? What does it stem from? Like, Norvell is just attacking that guy.
It predates him because I think he wasn't there with Jamie Robinson and
Beamer
when he came. I don't.
Yeah, but he was taking over.
He was taking
and Jamie
over,
and Keir Thomas were like, I'm not playing for this guy.
Yeah.
That's 5, right? That's 5 guys they've gotten from South Carolina.
They've all been very productive players too.
Yeah.
Chadrick writes, does the Warchant staff have a bottle of Lagavulin provided by Jeff they take a shot from every time FSU gets or retains another player from the transfer portal? This has the makings of a wonderful marketing opportunity. It's smooth like Jordan against Miami. Yeah, you don't shoot Lagavulin. You sip Lagavulin.
You sip Lagavulin because
yeah.
that's one you want to savor, right? That's
Yeah.
one of the good ones.
Well, it's a single malt Scotch, and you're going to want to savor almost any of those. So you're not shooting this. This isn't like Fireball.
We're not doing kamikaze.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
Although sometimes I do savor my Fireball.
Yeah, I like to sip my Fireball.
Push around a little bit.
Yeah.
Like when you leave the gas station, you're like, okay, yeah, here we go. Next question. Whenever coach, already answered it. Sorry, my bad. Oh, no. This is a question about who would replace Coach Ham. And this person is saying they would like Dennis Gates. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Maybe a challenge.
That train sailed.
Yeah.
Mixed metaphors.
Man, that's a shame though that it has, I think. Well, you could still delve into his coaching staff.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's some candidates internally. I've never hid the fact that I like Charlton Young a lot, CY, who's with Dennis Gates at Missouri.
Well, that's why I said you could rate his staff.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job in recruiting, but also I think is just a guy that gets players to play hard and does a really good job. I'm sure there'll be some people who have other ideas, but not the one thing that'll be interesting, I think, about that position when it becomes available is Michael Alford seems to be a guy who's going to want to make a splash. He's not a shrinking violet. He's going to want Florida State to have a big name. So I think that's going to play into it as well. I don't
South Carolina's head coach.
There you go. Somebody off Beamer staff.
Maybe go get Dawn Staley. She's the coach of the women's team, and they're awesome.
Todd writes, I have a suggestion for the trio of love to pontificate upon. How about we do away with the communist Eastern time zone so sports are played at decent times like the good Lord intended? They were last night. We had it happen. How about that 7:30 p.m.?
I was thinking about that in general. Football's kind of, the Super Bowl's not late. Football's kind of got it figured out. Baseball and the NBA are just like, screw you. We don't care if anybody watches.
This thing started. I'm like, I'm going to bed. My wife laughs at me because at 9:30, I always do the thing where I'm gonna watch this in the back. She's like, bitch, you ain't.
You're going to be asleep in 7 seconds.
In 7 seconds. She laughs at me. I'm like, oh, well, no, it's more comfortable back then.
I like the idea of Christy sitting there in the living room going, bitch.
Yeah.
Bitch, you going to sleep.
That's the look she gives me. She doesn't talk the way I talk. So it's
like she works in a school.
Yeah, she looks at me and just rolls her eyes. And then I'm like, I can feel your judgment, but I'm going to the back. That's how this, you can either come with me or not, but I'm going to the back. This is how this works. But last night I was up and at 'em just to watch 38-7 by halftime. And I was so angry because after the second drive, it was very apparent TCU was about to get blown out. Even at 10-7, it was apparent that TCU was about to get blown the hell out.
I think it was around 41-7, somewhere in there where I started to root for more points. And like when it was 65, I'm like, yes, let's 72. Get 72. Can we get 72? Do I hear 68? Do I hear 68? Can we get to 72?
Yeah. I had a buddy that had the over, and he was starting to sweat because TCU wasn't scoring.
Provide any help here?
Georgia covered the over by itself.
I never saw anything after the first points of the second half.
Oh, I saw it all.
I saw the first points of the second half. I went, well, this is stupid. What am I doing? Why? For what? I'll go watch a movie. I don't need to do this. This is over.
At the watch party I was at last night, they would give Jello shots for every time Georgia scored.
Oh no,
man! People staggered out of that sucker.
I mean, it looked like a school cafeteria when it was over. It was just Jello shot containers everywhere, like just spread all over the basement.
Did you get an opportunity to savor some Don Julio?
I did not. I just like the idea that Corey, who's almost as old as us, Jeff, is going to parties with Jello shots.
But I don't I don't partake in Jello shots.
Yes,
I don't even know how you're supposed to. Are you supposed to eat them? I don't even know how you're supposed to take them.
What kind of question? You snort them, Corey. Make sure you snort it.
I mean, do you slurp it or do you chew it? Like I don't know.
Into your veins.
So I was just drinking my water.
Into the Jello.
Say goodbye, Corey.
Peace.
There it is. Bye, Ira.
Talk to you guys next time.
Peace, everybody. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week. Goodbye.